So, Steve, I wanted to bring up a quote that I've heard you say more than once,
All right.
right? And I
All
want to
right.
explore it with you.
All right. Let's do
Okay.
it. Let's do
And
it.
just full disclosure,
Okay.
this isn't necessarily going to be a podcast where we're going, go team, rah, rah, you can do it.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You
Hey, and
know,
I have no idea what you're talking about,
you
so
have
this will
no
be my
idea.
first time to hear it. All
Right.
right. Let's do it.
Okay.
I love it.
And this is what you've said.
Okay.
And this is something, a conversation you've had with your wife, right?
Okay.
Which is there's no way out, just through.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And that is really inspirational quote for
Yeah.
me, right? I'd like you to talk about where that came from,
Yeah.
okay, what you meant by it. And let's just start there. So, where did
Man,
that
that's
come from?
wow. Hey, I wish I could remember. I'd love to take credit for it. I don't know if it was something I just came up with or something I heard, but I know that. Okay, so let me tell you. I came from a great family full of love. My dad was a workaholic. He worked 7 days a week. And really his work was to provide for the family. He came out of a violently abusive home.
Mm,
Frank, listen to this. My grandpa, which I did not know very well, he's a very mean man, and Memaw was even meaner than he was.
wow.
They would spank their kids with barbed wire. That's how crazy it was. So my dad's all of his brothers and everybody either ended up in jail, dead, all that. My
Wow.
dad ended up going into the military and went into the Air Force Police and then came out, went to the restaurant business and really broke that generational curse of abuse and all that. But he worked all the time. And my mom, amazing mom. Well, then when I met Stephanie, her dad died at 10. Her mom had been remarried like 4 or 5 times. They
Mm,
moved around tons, and we had done the same thing. We had moved
mm,
around, and I'll never forget when we decided. I was praying, man. I was just saying, okay, God, what do I like? Is Stephanie the one? Because for me, it was always, could there be somebody better? When you're
mm,
younger, it's always like, what if somebody better comes along? And I'll never forget, I was living with my granny, living in Houston, and I was walking down the stairs, and I knew that I knew that I knew, Frank. It was like God just settled it in my heart. Stephanie was the one. And I'll never forget this when we made a commitment to get married, and this has served us really well. The commitment to each other was, hey, babe, I love you, and there will never be a way out, only a way through.
mm.
And I'll tell you why that was so pivotal for us, and it translated into business too, was because Frank, her mom, there was always a way out. And I'm not trying to air personal stuff, but it's
Sure.
like when you're a child and your family's had divorce or there's a lot of things that have happened. I mean, I had a lot of dysfunction too. It was almost like you could always run, and it was like, hey, if it gets tough, I'm just going to run away.
Run. Right.
And what my statement in that for Stephanie was, hey babe, I'm in it. Like good days, bad days, fighting days, and in the early years, we were broke, man. We were 25 years old, newly married. At that time, I had $250,000 in debt. I had a failed
Mm,
real estate.
mm,
She married me. She was debt free. She
mm,
didn't have any debt. She was making great money.
mm.
And here it is. She's like, I love this guy. He's full of debt. He just, he lost everything. And he's
Yeah.
telling me he wants to get in the mortgage business, the worst business, 100% commission, right?
Right.
But it was just that, like, and what I took in that was, hey, babe, look, in good days, there's never a way out. But I commit to you this, that I'll never walk out on you. And
Mm,
the reason why that served us well was because even in the mortgage business, Frank, we talked about it today on the Breakfast Club. Too many people have made a choice. I'm choosing to get into the mortgage business. Well, the problem with the choice, and most people don't realize it, is there's options. If it's good, I'll continue. If it's not, I'll get out. But there's a difference between a choice and a decision. And when I got in the mortgage business, I treated it like my marriage because I was praying about it. And it was just like, God, what do you want me to do with the rest of my life? And Frank, I'm telling you, the two times I know that I know that I know that I know that I know, I heard God's voice. One,
mm,
marry Stephanie. The
mm,
second one, get in the mortgage business. Frank, I didn't even know, like I always joke all the time, I didn't know you spelled mortgage with two G's. I
mm.
had no idea. Like I had bought and sold investment property, but I didn't know what a mortgage was. I didn't know what a loan officer was. But when I got in, it was just like, man, there's no way, like, I treat it the same way. It's like there's no plan B. Like, it's going to be hard. There'll be good days, there'll be bad days, but there's only a way through.
Mm,
And when there's a commitment at that level, Frank, life changes.
mm,
It's not like we were talking about on Breakfast Club. I don't wake up and say I feel like it, I don't feel like it. No, don't matter how I feel.
mm.
Doesn't
Well,
matter if we went to bed a little angry at each other or if I woke up today and don't want to have conversations. It's just what we do.
yeah. Um,
I know that's kind of, I don't
what,
know that I've ever shared that with anybody,
yeah, and I
and
want to go. I want to go deeper on it a little bit because,
well, thank you for asking. I mean,
yeah,
it's quite personal. Like even with Stephanie, I just knew I had to shore up the areas in her life that had been a lot of
damaged.
pain, a lot
Yeah,
of pain,
yeah.
man, a lot of pain. And for me, I had to earn her trust.
Why do you think she trusted you? Because you're saying there's no way out, there's only a way through. I'm never gonna walk out on you, but oh yeah, I'm a hot mess right now, and I'm considering even
Mm,
making a move that might make it even, if you were looking not from a spiritual point, but from a logical point as a person, might seem
yeah,
crazy.
yeah.
Like, what do you think? Why do you think she trusted you? I mean, she was doing okay, you know? This,
Yeah, well, hey, that's a great question, and
yeah.
I'll tell you this. I think if she trusted me out of love,
Hmm.
but she continued to trust me because you know what I tell you, it was interesting. We've been married 23 years now, and the other day, this is probably a couple years ago. You know what she told me, Frank? She said, even after 20 years of trusting you, some days it's hard to know you're not going to walk out.
Really?
Yeah, I don't think, and listen, bro, we've been in 25 years of counseling. We started
Mm.
going to counseling 2 years before we got married.
Hmm.
And we did this great life experience called Dimensional Journey. They still do it now. It's called I don't know, it's called the Life Enrichment Boot Camp or something. But we've been in counseling for 25 years. Like we do family counseling, she does individual counseling, we do marriage counseling. And I think it gets easier and easier because what would happen is in the fights, I wouldn't walk out. And it was another thing I did too. And I know we're going deep, but like I just chose, even if we try not to go to bed angry, number one, and number two, even if we fight, we don't sleep in different beds. Why?
Mm.
It makes you reconcile.
Yeah.
And I think the faster we're able to reconcile, the faster we're able to continue to move. But I think where the trust, I just never slammed out and said, I'm done, I'm out. I
Mm.
just recognized it was something. I don't know. It's that saying, trust is built in small kept promises. It doesn't mean
Mm.
it's been perfect, man. I've broken trust.
Yeah.
But guess what? I just got to regain it. Let's go back and apologize and say, hey, I
Yeah.
was really immature in that, and I was really selfish.
Mm.
And Frank, I think it's just a constant. I think this, when you're in love, it's like, oh, I love you and I'm going to trust you. But then when you wake up on day two, it's like, am I earning the trust? Am I doing what I say I'm going to
Mm.
do? Am I showing up? When I recognize I hurt you, did I back up and say, wow, I didn't realize that was a point of pain and I'm really sorry for that.
Yeah.
And you know what I've learned to do too is I've learned to forgive really quickly, but also realize it's as a husband, God's called us to help heal the broken places in our wife,
Mm.
in our spouse, in our kids. It's like when I touch a point of pain, it's like, or when I feel pain, being able to recognize it and just say, look, nobody's trying to hurt each other. So what happened? How do we heal that? How do we
Mm.
mend that bridge again? And man, I had no idea we'd be talking about this, but I
Oh,
always
I
go
know.
back.
That's why I wanted to drop this on you
Well,
because
just think in relationship to though, Frank, I always go back to this. I heard TD Jakes say it a long time ago. He's such a great, but he just said, trust is always earned. It's always earned,
Mhm.
always earned.
Mm,
And we expect it like, hey, you should trust me. No, 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 no. I really believe that. I believe every day you got to earn it.
mm,
Every day, you know what? When I break trust, I got to just go back and repair it quickly. But
mm,
sometimes the trust we break takes a little bit of time to repair.
mm,
Sometimes it's like, hey, I showed up late. Doesn't take a long time to build that trust again. But sometimes if there's a deep wound or a deep offense, man, it takes a little bit of trust. It takes a little bit of time. It takes doing what we say we're going to do consistently to prove to them that this isn't empty words.
mm.
I've made a decision. I recognize what I did hurt you. And you know what? I'm committed to not hurting you. And I'm going to ask you to forgive me. And then also sharing, hey, here's what I'm doing to make sure that doesn't happen again. Um, and man, whew, it's a journey. And
Let
it's
me
not
ask.
perfect.
Yeah,
So,
let me add one more
yeah,
question.
yeah,
We can wrap this up. And thanks for
yeah.
being so vulnerable because I knew that this is how this podcast would go. And
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah,
sometimes Steve, when it comes to doing podcasts, we're mortgage guys. We do mortgage podcasts and all that stuff. But
yeah,
sometimes it's good just to be people,
yeah,
who are in the
yeah.
space and what's going on with us and how do we get through things and how do we deal with stuff. But with this mantra, there's no way out, just through, that you and your wife share, and just give me one of the toughest things you've been through where this applied and got you through.
Wow. Um,
And you don't have to get too deep and personal if you don't want to, because
yeah,
this
yeah,
can
yeah.
go
Well,
quite deep. I know, but I
well,
just think that it
I'll
would,
tell you this. I
yeah.
remember in the early years,
Hmm.
the first 6 months of our marriage, and we've been married again over 23 years. The first 6 months of our marriage were bliss. We were blissfully in love.
Hmm.
The next 2 years were probably the toughest 2 years of our marriage. And you know why, Frank? It was all
Hmm.
about money. We both, she was debt free when she married me. I
Hmm.
was $250,000 in debt. I had 4 houses in foreclosure.
Hmm.
And we pulled all of it out and took us 10 years to pay
Is
everybody
this
back.
during the 08, 07, 08
No, it
crash
was
or?
actually in 2002, 2003.
Okay.
When I got in, we had bought and sold investment properties. We partnered with a guy and we had, I don't know, between $1 million to $2 million in real estate, which we were buying lower end properties. We were
Hmm.
buying 50 to $100,000 homes in Port Arthur,
Gotcha.
Texas. And here's what would happen is he had the real estate. We'd go in and spend 10, 15, 20 grand to update it, renovate it, and sell it and flip it.
Mm.
And so we partnered together and we ended up losing our shirt because he ended up just taking everything and running. So we owed the bank, we owed these properties. And I think the toughest season was, I'll never forget this. We were so broke, we could only do quarter dates. There was a place here in Houston where we could do a 50-cent matinee. And right next to it was this cheap Italian place called Frittoli's. So we could literally do a Friday cheap matinee and lunch for less than $5.
Wow.
That was our date. That was all we could afford. And in those early years, the resentment was she was like, I'm carrying this weight. I was debt free. I loved you. I married you. Now I own the debt. And I'm sitting here saying, believe in me. I'm 100% commission. I've never done a mortgage. My first year, I only closed 8 loans. No, no,
Mm.
there wasn't anybody teaching you. All you had to have are 13 conversations. I'm like,
Yeah.
there wasn't the marketing analyst.
Right.
And the first 2 years were probably the toughest because when you're trying to figure out which bills you could pay, and I'm sitting there saying, baby, trust me. And she's saying, I love you and I want to trust you, but we're broke. And she's working full time and she's paying the majority of the
Mm.
bills and my debt.
Mm.
And it was just like that. That was a real tense season. It's like, trust me. And then as we started getting more and more traction and we got more and more margin, it all paid off. But it was a season of tension when you come home and it's like, we can't even pay gas or put gas in our car.
Mm.
But it's like, babe, I'm showing up every day. I'm doing what I know to do.
Mm.
Like for
Mm.
me, my mantra was nobody will outwork me. Well,
Mm.
what we've learned now is it's not hard work alone is not enough.
Mm.
However, I was diligent enough to get us through. And eventually, 2 years later, I got in '02, licensed in '03. And in 2005, we were doing so much business. She actually quit property management and come join me in the mortgage space and
Mm.
ran our operations. Well, man, that's where it got exciting because now we're making a lot of money. We're working together. We got, freedom. And so the first few years, it was after the honeymoon, phase of 6 months, it was like, all right, this is tough. However, and we would say it all the time, and I would say it, it's like there's no way out, there's only a way through. Babe, I can't change the financial pressure, but what I can do is show up every single day. And I promise you this, we will get through it. Hey there, if you're loving the tips so far, make sure to hit that subscribe button and tap the bell so you never miss out on more cool free tips coming your way. I'd also love to hear from you. Make sure to drop a comment below and let me know what you think, or what it is you want to see next. And we'll see you on the inside. See you. And listen, man, for our married folks, it puts, you know, intimacy challenges. It puts like all of that's at play when your finances are tough. But I'll tell you this, man, God is faithful. And when you make a decision, and then here's the other thing too, not only to say there's no way out, only a way through, but do that in your business. And what I love, Frank, is you could be dead broke today.
Yeah.
You could have zero loans in your pipeline. And if you'll follow a plan in 90 days, transform your business. I'm thinking of Paulina, who's been in my boot camp, and precious lady. She was closing zero loans, and in 8 weeks had seven fundings for the month. And the next week, it looked like the next month, it looked like she was going to have nine, from zero to seven, and possibly nine the following month. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes doing the right activity consistently over time. Hey, and if they want to know about it, go to freedomplanningcall.com. Our team will walk them through the membership or the boot camp. But Frank, I think that was probably the toughest time, and that lasted for probably 2 or 3 years. And then we started seeing
That's a
margin.
long season. 2 or 3 years.
Well, and then, plus you've got, yeah, it's a long season, but you just realize, I always joke, we've had about 19 great years.
Yeah.
And now it's so beautiful. There's so much trust, but
Yeah.
it doesn't mean those insecurities don't pop up. But that's why I think you go, and it's our spouses need to know we're committed, and that's both ways, where it's like, hey, I love you. I love you.
Yeah.
We're getting older, we're getting grayer, we've got different lines and wrinkles. And it's like, I just think there's such a security in partnerships when it's and that'll be in business and in life. It's
Yeah.
like, there's no way out, man. There's only a way through. We'll figure this out. So
Well, and we'll get out of here, but I do want to make note. You said that, gosh, you guys were getting counseling even before you got married.
yeah, yeah.
And you still
Well, that's
do
how
it
we
to
got
this
through some of the
day.
brokenness, man. Like,
In
we both came from a lot of brokenness. So
so when I was going to say, so word of advice from you, from anyone listening who may be going through something
yeah,
tough in their relationship or with their finances or whatever. Let's stick with the relationship, because I think that for us to be successful in business, having a good relationship, if you do have one, if you are married,
yeah,
you're with someone, making sure that is on a good footing is really important to
yeah.
being able to do with the things you got to do. And it sounds to me like Stephanie was right there, just like she was there. She had the trust, it maybe questioned it a couple times, like,
Yeah, yeah,
okay, got this
yeah.
right, but she did. So word of advice from you, what would is counseling something that you would advise, or what
Man,
would you
well, I tell you, 100%. Counsel, I'll tell you this: my 13-year-old son just went through a transition with his school. It was pretty tough, and we decided to go to family counseling, him and me together, so I could help him walk it out. And it's an interesting thing, and it was almost like you could. For him, it was a tough decision of something that happened at school, and I just said, "Hey, bud, we're going to go through some counseling." And I said, "You and I will go together." And you know what's so great about counseling? It helps you see things that you don't even know. Like when he and I were doing it, Frank, let me tell you something that came up. And I know this is a longer episode, but it's worthy of it. So let me tell you what came up. And this is something my son, he was disengaged at school. The truth is, he's really smart, but he's a great leader. And the teachers are like, when he engages, he really leads the class. When he doesn't, and it was all this stuff. So I'm like, Ethan, let's go to counseling. And so we got this guy. His name's Liam, and he was a great recommendation. And Frank, when we went in, it's like, okay, how do I help Ethan find his passion? How do I help Ethan navigate this? And what came out for me, this is why counseling is so important. Um, Liam, and it's so funny. Liam's like half my age, but he's a great counselor, man, and it's exactly what we needed for him to connect with Ethan. And then listen to how God really touched my heart with it. Is I'll never forget. I'm a 6 year college dropout, 6 years, and I know everybody laughs. It's like, how do you do it? I think it's God's providence because there's a lot of pride in. I've got a double major in business and marketing and graduate. I graduated top of my class in high school, and then I drop out in college, 6 year college non-graduate. And what I did was that last year I was double majoring in business and in marketing, and it took me 6 years because I'd helped my dad in his restaurant. We launched a restaurant, and then I went to college full time. Well, at the 21 hours before graduating, Frank, my dad called me and he said, "Son, I'm about to lose the restaurant." And I said, "Dad, tell me about that. What are we doing?" I literally quit college to help him save his restaurant.
Mm.
And I ran the front of the house. Jim ran the back of the house, my twin brother. And we didn't save it completely, but we saved it for another 9 months. And I didn't realize this until I went to counseling just literally 6 months ago with Liam. I felt the shame of Frank. I couldn't do enough to save my dad's restaurant.
Hmm.
Now, put this into perspective. I'm 22 years old and I'm carrying the weight of I couldn't do enough to save my dad's restaurant.
Hmm.
Because what came out was, well, why do you feel like you can't do enough? Like even with Ethan, it's like I'm not doing enough. If I were a better dad, if I could,
Hmm.
if I'm engaged more, if and what all of it stemmed back to was in my early 20s when I had the opportunity to help my dad save his restaurant and I couldn't do it. I couldn't do enough.
Hmm.
And it was like I just think counseling is so powerful because for me it was like, oh my gosh, that's why. Hey, you know what? That's why it's my whole saying is anything worth doing is worth doing badly. Just get started. Well, part of that came from the fear of what if I can't do enough? What if it's not enough? What if I can't save it? Well, what happened was it created this paralysis in so many areas of my life where it was like, well, heck, I may not even be able to do it versus just taking action and seeing where it goes. It's not my responsibility. I was 20 years old,
Hmm.
21,
Hmm.
22. It was my dad's responsibility. And yet I felt the weightiness of it that was carrying all the way through my family to my 13-year-old son.
Wow.
And just a profound, well, now I understand the root and I can walk through it and say, Ethan, I remember, man, and forgive me as a dad for putting the weightiness of that on you as a son. You're 13 years old, bub.
Hmm.
Listen, man, we're going to figure this out together, but it's
Yeah.
not your weight to carry, it's mine.
Yeah.
So, and I think what counseling does, and it just allows you to see these little areas, and you're just constantly becoming a healthier version of yourself.
Hmm.
Because look, now I can carry that into my business relationships. And it's like and it's like not only is it me personally, it's in my marriage, my family, my friends, my businesses. And what'll happen is little things will come up in your life. And it's like, why did I go from a 0 to a 10? That shouldn't have been a 10. That should have been a 2. Well,
Yeah.
that's a great indication that that's an area we've got to go in and evaluate.
Hmm.
Hey, how come when Steph and I were talking about this, dude, that just triggered me? Well, I love her, but what was it behind the trigger?
Hmm.
And that's what a counselor will do. They just help you uncover these little things in business. Why am I afraid of making the calls? Why
Hmm.
is asking for the business hard? Why do I feel like I feel like I got to perform for Stephanie to earn her love? Where does that come from?
Hmm.
You know, and counseling with the right person, just in different seasons, here's what I'll tell you. In the beginning, for us, it was marriage, and then it became more personal. Then it went back to more marriage, and then it's intimacy, and then it's kids, and then it's like it's not one thing for all seasons. Every season has a different theme. So,
Mm. And I know this is long, but I just got to ask this now too. How many
yeah.
counselors in your that
Oh gosh, brother.
have you
Hey,
been
listen,
through?
dude. And
And
how
here's
much
the
money?
follow-up question, just and then we can wrap this up is how many have you explored? And then how do you know and this is just in your opinion, right?
Yeah,
In
yeah.
your opinion, how do you know when you've got a good one, like the right one? Because you might go through one like this person. I went this person. It didn't really work. I
Yeah,
didn't.
but then you just find it. You'll know.
You'll just know.
Yeah,
Hmm.
and I'm not looking for the yes person. Well,
Right.
I'll tell you the way I do it. So for
Yeah.
me personally, it's important that I find godly counsel.
Okay.
I'm a believer, love Jesus, but for me, it's important that there's a biblical base
Yeah.
because I want there to be a framework that's around my belief.
Yeah.
Number two is this: every season you'll identify it, like where am I the most stuck? So when I was getting married, before I got married, we went through dimensional journey. That was all about identity and purpose
Mhm.
because what I realized was I didn't really know who I am. Although Steph and I went through it together, it was still separate. But what we were uncovering is who I am as a person. Because before you uncover who I am, it's hard to link arms with somebody else. It's like I got to uncover my identity and what God's called me to be. Once we got married, we started going through marital counseling because we recognized there's a lot of friction around, just how do we cohabitate together? So it was like, and then once we started getting that down, then I did some counseling around what are the limiting beliefs in business. And so, like, Lyle was a great friend of mine. And a lot of times, the counselors, like my mom counseled us, she's an actual counselor at the highest level. Then we had a marriage couple counsel us. We had a pastor counsel us. I had a business guy counsel us. And then, like, we both have independent counselors. So there's a place called Houston Christian Counseling Centers. And my friend Tim Mavergeorge owns all of them here in Houston. So Tim is our counselor. But then when Ethan was going through his thing at school, Frank, I called Tim and just said, hey, I need somebody for Ethan. He's having a hard time engaging. He's super smart. And you know what it really is, Frank?
Mm.
He's so smart. He's already got it. And he's like, Dad, I'm so bored with school. Like
Mm.
this kid's already building landing pages. This kid's already and he's 13 years old.
Yeah.
And what we're uncovering is part of it is he's bored because he's already five. Like, listen to this, Frank. He's read 100 business books. Like he just
Really?
read, dude, every book over here, I pay him $5 a book. He'll read a book in 2 days. Like, I mean, like when I go over here and I start looking at traction and I start looking at, the gap and the gain, he's read all those books. And so what we found out was part of it is he's just bored. How do we re-engage? And so like things will come up in life and it's like, well, man, if you feel stuck, then I want to seek out somebody who's further away that can help me. And listen, sometimes it's only 2 or 3 sessions. Sometimes it's a year.
Mm.
I don't stop until I know I'm past that area. And then it's like once I'm healed and I move through it, it's like, well, now I'm going to move on to the next thing. You're not stuck forever. And even marriage counseling, Steph and I do seasons where it's like, dude, we're going through a really good season. We're good. And then it gets a little bumpy and it's like, why did that area prick a little bit different?
Mm.
All right,
Mm.
let's go see Tim together and do joint counseling. So
Mm.
we'll do some independent and we'll do some together and then some family counseling. But it's not this rigid thing. It's just, all right, where are we at? What are we trying to work on?
Mm.
Because here's what will happen is God will highlight little things in your life. And it's like, okay, I can stay stuck or I can seek counsel. And listen, it ain't cheap. It's like 175 a session.
Yeah.
And he doesn't take insurance, but for us, it's just like, it's just a part of our budget. It's
Yeah.
like, we're going to go to the right people to help us get unstuck. And our goal is to get healthier every day, every
Mm.
week, every month, every year.
Mm.
So,
Well, good stuff. Steve Kiles. Thank you,
man,
man.
great conversation. This is something I don't think I've ever talked about. This is great. I think it'll help a lot of people.
It will. That's why I wanted to talk about it
Yeah, and
because,
just remember this,
yeah,
regardless of where you're at, you've got what it takes, and now you know, and let's get unstuck. Hey, they need to know about Jim's book.
yeah, let's
Uh,
do that. We'll make
Unstuck.
sure it's jimkyles.com is where you
Yeah,
can
go
go to
to
get
his
it.
book. It's a great starting point,
For
man.
those listening on audio, though, the spell the word Jim, Jimn,
Yeah, KYLES. Yeah.
Jimn Kyles, Kyles
Yeah.
dot
Dot
com.
com.
Go there,
He's got
get
a
his
book
book.
called Unstuck and Unstoppable. It's a great starting place about identity and getting unstuck. it'll be a good place for you to start.
Yeah, good stuff, man.
Yeah,
All right,
Frank,
Steve
thanks,
Cos.
man.
No,
I
thank
sure
you,
love and
man. I
appreciate you,
knew
brother.
this would be important to a lot of people and
Yeah.
healthy. And sometimes it's good to talk about things
Wow.
that aren't just make your calls. Like sometimes it's good to talk about
Yeah.
these things, and
Hey,
that's why I wanted to do
send
it.
me this. Let's put it on mine too. I think it's a great conversation. I
Okay.
appreciate
Yep.
it, brother.
All
Wow.
right, brother. Well, thanks for doing this. I super appreciate it. For the rest of you,
Yeah.
thanks for joining us here in the Mortgage Loan Officer Podcast, brought to you by the Mortgage Marketing Animals. We'll catch up with you all later. See ya. Adios.
See you.